that was hit in December of 2021 by the unimaginable, and there is far too high of a probability we will see that again tonight. The tornado threat is the largest in the far western region, but certainly is real all the way up to I-65. For the rest of Kentucky, with the exception of the east, you should expect violent thunderstorms, followed by significant winds with wind gusts up to 55 miles an hour. Let me say that this is not a drill. We will have more updates as the day comes. But if you are in western Kentucky, I want you to make sure that you look at this slide starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central. You need to be somewhere safe. If you don't have a basement, if you don't have a safe room within your house, make plans now to be somewhere else tonight. If you are all the way up to I-65 at least, looking at 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern Time, it's going to be really dangerous out there. The EOC is activated at level 2, and I'll be receiving a briefing today at 2 o'clock, at which time I will determine whether or not to go ahead and sign a state of emergency. Folks, we lost 81 people in December of 2021 in tornadoes, 45 in flooding in July of 2022. This is almost a full day of advanced warning. We hope in the end the meteorologists will be wrong, but we have a whole day to plan. Everyone, have your safety plan. Locate your safe place from tornadoes and practice going there before the weather arrives. A storm shelter or a basement is the best. An interior hallway away from windows is the second best. If you are in a mobile home, get out. Be somewhere safe long before this hits. Go to a neighbor's, an underground shelter, or a nearby permanent structure. Monitor the weather on weather.gov, watching local TV, or listening to NOAA Weather Radio. We will continue to keep Kentuckians updated today. All right. Moving on from the weather, which I hope everyone here and at home that's watching will make your plan, we do really have a lot to celebrate. 2 historic bills that we're going to sign into law right here. One where we are signing multiple pieces of legislation into law that people have been pushing for years, if not a decade. And that's my goal as governor, to make sure we're focused on the questions that keep our people up at night. Questions like, do I have a good job where I can provide for my family? Can I afford to take my parents or kids to a doctor when they're sick? And can I get the medicine that helps them live the lives that they deserve? Are my kids getting a world-class education? And do I feel safe in my home and my community? Today, we are doing everything we can to make sure we're helping these families strive and truly thrive. But far too many of our people face the obstacle of having chronic or terminal diseases like cancer, or those like our veterans suffering from PTSD, or Kentuckians living with epilepsy, seizures, Parkinson's, or more. These folks want and deserve safe and effective methods of treatment, which is why in November I took action and signed an executive order allowing Kentuckians with one of 21 medical conditions to access medical cannabis. That day and in the many days that followed, I talked about that executive order being imperfect and that we needed legislative action, and last night the General Assembly delivered. I am thrilled to say these legislators that are here today did just that by passing Senate Bill 47, which in a couple moments I'm going to sign into law. This will come as a huge relief to families, some of which are with us today. I'd like to thank Representative Steve West, the primary sponsor, Representative Jason Nemes, Representative Al Gentry. I also want to thank the many advocates who have fought hard for this day on behalf of their own health needs and for others. Folks like Moms for Medical Cannabis, folks like Eric Crawford, Jared Bonville, retired United States Air Force Master Sergeant, who opened himself up to the world to show people how necessary this was willing to talk about his lowest moments so others wouldn't have to go through with them. We're really proud of you, and thank you for your work. People like Craig Manley, a small business owner of a construction company in McCracken County, and Chastity Harney, a mom suffering from stage 4 cancer. It was brave of them to step up and to offer their voices for themselves and others, and today they have made the difference. Steve West, carrying this bill through, carrying something through that had not made it through that starting chamber ever before. Let's invite him up to say a few words.
Thank you, Governor. Very happy to be here today with friends to celebrate this special day. Signing of SB 47 comes after about 5 years of hard-fought legislative effort. I would specifically like to thank Eric and Michelle Crawford. This also I'm going to throw Jaime Montalvo in the mix as well, back here. Appreciate your effort. This bill is how the legislative process should work. I represent Mason County, Kentucky. Eric and Michelle are my constituents. When it first started, I had no idea I did not want to be involved in medical marijuana. I had no idea what the issue was all about. They had a resolution passed at the Mason County Fiscal Court, and they got me involved, and I listened, and I started doing my research, and I said, what is wrong with this? Why shouldn't Kentucky have this option for our people? And then the legislative process began. And so I, along with John Sims and Mark Hart in the House, I filed a Senate bill, they filed a companion bill, and it started and it died. And then the next year it got a House hearing. And it was sent to a committee hearing, maybe to die. But you could tell people sitting on the committee, the light bulb came on. This isn't a bad bill. This is good for the people. One of those people sitting on that committee was Representative Nemus, and he became a large part of the passage of this bill. The baton was passed to him, and he carried it a little ways further down the road, having passed out of the House twice. And it went through, probably, Senate Bill 47 is probably one of the most vetted bills in the history of the General Assembly, going through numerous committees, being worked and reworked numerous times. And I'm proud to be a part of that effort. I could go on for a long time about how we got here, what's in the bill, but I won't waste a lot of time. I'll try to be very brief. Once this bill is implemented, if you or your family if you're on the list of one of the qualifying conditions, cancer, epilepsy, MS, PTSD, and others, you will have a second option. You will not have to rely on opioids. As part of this process, we looked at other states and what they were doing. And one of the prime reasons I sponsored this bill and moved it along is addiction. Mm-hmm. Other states who have this option have seen not only a 20 to 30% reduction in opioid use, but also a 20 or 30% reduction in drug addiction, heroin, fentanyl, and those sorts of things. And if you haven't looked, Kentucky has a severe addiction problem, and I think Senate Bill 47 and medical marijuana can be part of that solution. Amen. And I'm happy to be here today to help sign this bill, and happy to be here with the team that helped move this along. And I would not like to introduce now one of the senators who helped it along in the Senate, Senator Philip Wheeler.
Thank you very much. It's a true honor to be here today to celebrate this momentous legislation. For far too long, we have had to depend on the pharmaceutical companies pushing substances that have just been a bane to rural Kentucky. I come from eastern Kentucky, and I've seen firsthand the devastation that opioids have wrought on my region. I've even seen firsthand the devastation that opioids have wrought on my family. My father's a doctor. He has served as a physician for 38 years. And, when I first came to the General Assembly, I wasn't 100% sure on medical cannabis either. But, as I met people like Steve, who has just done the yeoman's work here, I don't know that there is anybody else that really could have gotten this bill through. Somebody who has such attention to detail, not only in a work ethic, but not only the work ethic, but the compassion to go with it. And I don't think it could have gotten through without advocates like Eric and Michelle Crawford, whose patience, whose perseverance, and whose dedication to really people who are suffering, I think, is really unmatched by any people down here advocating for an issue that I've seen. And I think you saw that in the final vote in the Senate, that even those who voted no said that these two individuals are a model of how to advocate for an issue within the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I'm grateful for Governor Beshear for signing this bill and for Representative Nemes. I came here late to the issue. I'm glad I jumped on board and was able to play a small part in getting it over the finish line. But it's grateful to be here today. I'm so happy to celebrate this and with this bill signing.
Great. Let's last hear from Representative Nemes and all the work he did to get this over the finish line. And then we're going to do this bill signing in two parts. They call it a bill signing. You have to sign it, and you also have to date it to make it law. So after Representative Nemes, what I'd like is I'll sign with all of our legislators that helped make this happen, and then I'd love to date it with all the advocates that are here that push so hard to get it done.
This is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Governor Beshear, thank you very much for this signing day. Thank you for your administration being a helpful one here. Senator West, I agree with Senator Wheeler. It doesn't get done without you pushing it across the finish line over in the Senate. I want to say thanks to a lot of people. You can't really name everybody because it's impossible to name everyone, but I want to know where it began for me, and that is John Sims, Al Gentry, Allison Lundigan Grimes, Mark Hart. Those people were at the forefront that brought us together. I was lucky to sit next to John Sims on the floor. Charles Booker is here. Charles Booker was really instrumental in pushing this thing forward as well. I was very fortunate. It was just a matter of, I think, a God thing that I sat next to John Sims for the first few years of being in the legislature, because I was not for medical marijuana. I wasn't for marijuana at all. I thought it was bad. I wasn't for it. I thought medical was wink, wink, nod, nod, a way to get to recreational. John Sims every day, Nemes, he thought about this, what about this, what about this? And he nudged me forward, and I was wrong. And I'm glad to stand here today and say that. I won't talk, like I said, about the advocates too much, but Erica, Michelle Crawford, Jaime Montalvo, this is how it's supposed to be done. I'm filled with emotion. There are, Governor, as you know, thousands and thousands of Kentuckians who just want to be and want to feel better. And this will help them with that. We walk through the hallway, Senator West, as you know, in Frankfort, and we hear so many people who whisper to us, please fight for us. Because they don't want to be felons. They want to do right. They want to be right. They want to do good things for their family. This is such a good bill because there will be tens of thousands of Kentuckians who will never know our names, who will never walk these halls, but will be helped. And so I'm happy to have played a small part in that. When the governor signs this bill and it becomes law, what a glorious day it is. So thank you for everyone. Thank you, Governor, for allowing us to be here today and to sign this into law and to make it official in Kentucky. I can't believe we're here today.
We're about to do it.
We're about to do it.
We're about to do it. All right. Let's have current and past legislators, if you voted for this in any session, come on up to be a part of the signing, and then we are going to have all our advocates up for the dating. All right. All right, and it continues this morning. For years, I believed it is time for Kentucky to join so many other states and pass sports betting, as virtually every state around us, whether they were Democrat or Republican-led, had passed it. We talk about having a competitive business climate, but we were not allowing an important business that every state around us was. The fact is, you can drive right across virtually every one of Kentucky's borders, and you can place a bet. And part of that bet then goes back to that other state to help pave their roads or fund their education system. Our dollars were supporting Indiana, West Virginia, Ohio, and other states. But now, after years of urging action, sports betting is finally going to be legal in Kentucky. We made it happen. Today's results show that hard work pays off. Kentuckians will soon be able to place their bets right here in the Commonwealth. And for the first time, those dollars are going to help support rebuilding our bridges, repaving our roads, funding our education system, and improving our communities. We are doing what is right, not just to keep dollars in our state, but to keep our red-hot economy on fire. This industry will bring new jobs, tourism, and growth. And I am proud today that I'm going to sign it into law, and we're going to thank those that helped make this historic day possible and the many over the years that pushed so hard. To name a few, I want to recognize Representative Michael Meredith, who is a primary bill sponsor, as well as Senator Damon Thayer and everybody here that voted for it. We also have to recognize the hard work of former Representative Adam Koenig, who's here with us today. Thank you for your hard work. We appreciate the work of our great Horse Racing Association and our treks, who put in a lot of work to get this done. And I want to thank the overwhelming majority of Kentuckians that said very loud every day that this was entertainment and it was an option that Kentuckians demanded and deserved. There are many more to thank, but I want to make sure that we get the guy who pushed this through, who spent almost every minute of this session once we got a Bowling Green Veterans Center funded, making sure that we got sports betting passed. So please welcome Representative Michael Meredith.
Governor Beshear, I want to thank you for signing this bill today. This has been a labor of love. It's been a lot of work over the last 3 to 4 months. As you said, and I want to thank you for recognizing former Representative Adam Koenig, who had carried the water on this for years, who had carried the load, who taught me everything I needed to know about this bill as we came to today. This was really a team effort. It took House leadership on the Republican side. It took Democratic House leadership. It took leadership on the Republican side of the Senate and leadership on the Democratic side of the Senate. And it took your efforts and your staff's efforts to get this done on the very last day of this session. Short of the bill you just signed, this might be the most bipartisan bill that was passed this session. And it proves what we can do together when we're willing to come together and work together. I want to thank Senator Damon Thayer for his efforts in the Senate. I want to thank Senator Julie Rocky Adams for her efforts in the Senate. I want to thank the Sports Betting Alliance for all their work on this through the session. And I want to thank the Horse Racing Commission for all their work to help us put together a regulatory structure that I think will protect Kentuckians and make sure we move an industry that has been in the shadows and has existed in Kentucky for many, many years into the light with a regulated and a consumer-protected industry that Kentucky can be very proud of. And I want to thank everybody for their efforts. And Governor, thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we're going to try to just get everybody in this bill signing, that advocates and legislators. And I know representing House leadership today, we have Representative Nemes representing our Democratic leadership. We have all three, Representative Graham, Stevenson, and Roberts. Thank you for, I believe, getting a unanimous group voting for this bill. Let's invite everybody up and let's sign sports betting into Kentucky law. All right. As we wrap up, I think Representative Meredith said it right. Both bills, historic bills that we signed today, would not have been possible without both parties coming together to do the right thing for Kentuckians. You know, it was said, can you, with a Democratic governor and a supermajority Republican legislature, get those tough things, important things, things that Kentuckians really want done? And the answer is absolutely. Sports betting and medical cannabis are now law here in Kentucky. We'll give a few minutes for those that want to filter out, and then I'm happy to answer questions right here. Give us about 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you.